Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Fatman, the Human Flying Saucer, number 2, published in 1967. Fatman was published by Lightning Comics, a very short-lived comic company, but the reason why it's significant is because 20 years after creating Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, and also drawing his adventures for like 12 years and writing them, C.C. Beck, artist, and Otto Binder, writer, got back together to make this. It's very different than Captain Marvel, but also very similar. Very, it's adventurous, superhero adventure, action, but it's also very silly, very much for children, very lighthearted, just like Captain Marvel was. This is probably even sillier than Captain Marvel ever got, but it's pretty damn fun. And C.C. Beck is just so good. His cartooning it's just so crisp and just fun, comical type cartooning. It's really just delightful to look at. And we see a cover here. This is a special issue. The whole 64-page issue is one giant story in 5 chapters, just like Captain Marvel used to do with like the Monster Society of Evil, even though that was like 25 chapters. But in this one, he faces the awesome foursome. Got this really weird rhyme. It's almost there as a rhyme, but it's not quite. Awesome foursome. Doesn't really work as a rhyme. It's interesting that they even tell you at the bottom. This is pretty rare back then, where they credit the artist and writer on any comic on the cover. Written and drawn by the creators of the original Captain Marvel, O.O. Binder and C.C. Beck. So that's kind of different. I think they might have had some interest in this company. Like maybe it was their company, but I'm not sure about that. But it is kind of cool that they gave them a chance to show their stuff after whatever. It's been a long time since Captain Marvel ended, like 15 years before this. There was 3 issues of this. I only have number 2. And I've had it, I've never seen 1 or 3 ever. Never even seen them. I probably couldn't afford them. So I'm just going to show you this issue. I wish I had all 3 so I could show off the whole oeuvre. Hey, there's the onion gum guy. I love that guy. Okay, and I like this title page. It's very graphically appealing with a nice lettering. Now this is interesting. I didn't know this until I looked at Grand Comic Database. Apparently, C.C. Beck not only penciled and inked this, he colored it and lettered it, and it's just really nice cartooning. Like it's a good story all around. I mean, it's very goofy and silly, but I bet if you were 7 years old, this would be your favorite comic in the world. It's really kind of fun. So they keep advertising Fatman as the 3-in-1 superhero because he has an alter ego, Van Crawford, a wealthy hobbyist, Fatman, the heavyweight hero, but he also can turn into Saucer Man, the human machine. And here's the awesome foursome. God, it's hard to say. I want to say the awesome foursome or the awesome foursome. We start off, Van Crawford. He's this rich scion of some wealthy family. He doesn't have to work. He loves his hobbies, stamp collecting, bird watching. He's even a comic book fan. He collects comics. He's reading Stout Fellow comics here. Get it? But his favorite hobby, of course, is eating. And one day, he gets on a scale. His doctor says you should weigh yourself. And he breaks the scale. He hears an announcement about on the radio about a UFO sighting. So he says, this sounds like a job for Fatman, because he thinks it might be an invasion from space. He turns into Saucer Man, or the Human Flying Saucer, and he can barely fly. He can't get any altitude. He starts bumping along the ground. He's too fat. He weighs himself. He's way over his limit. He has to go to a truck weighing station, of course, to weigh himself. So he goes to this mechanic, Mike the mechanic. I love this character. This is really a great little character. Maybe he comes back in number 3. That would be great. Or maybe he was in number 1. I don't know. So he's tinkering with Fatman, and he's obviously doesn't know what he's doing. So he says, there's only one place for you, and he puts him in his truck and leaves him at the city dump. So as you can see already, this comic is really just about like telling gags. It's almost like you could break this up into 1 or 2 page gag strips. But then, of course, there's an adventure linking them all. But it's really about like, wait, we could have this little aside here where Fatman gets into some funny business with this guy or whatever. So now all of a sudden, Fatman's bemoaning his fate. And then all of a sudden, the alien in a flying saucer who gave Fatman his powers last issue, in the very first issue, he shows up. He says, you really let me down. I gave you all those powers and you got too fat to use them. So you're coming with me. He tows Fatman. He has to tow him to his space station or whatever. And there's all these other aliens. And they're like, we're going to help you lose weight. Just like most people, he's like, oh, they're super science. Like, they'll help me slim down quickly and painlessly. Like all those fucking ads you see for like Japanese pink salt hack. Just add lemon and vinegar and you could lose 100 pounds in a week. Because heaven forbid people should like, oh, maybe I'll have to show some restraint and exercise. Now, this is me saying this is a very fat man, a morbidly obese man. And I wish I would like to lose weight, but it's also this whole idea that so many Americans have of like, but I don't want to do anything. I'm going to wait for some magic hoo-ha. And that's what he's like. But of course it's not. They put him through the ringer. He's got to exercise. He's got to take diet pills, go on a starvation diet, take a little steam bath. He's like, this sucks. But I guess he does get down to fighting weight. Now, the alien who gave him his powers, he says, we need your help. This Martian dictator was exiled. He failed in his coup attempt. And it's this guy, Brain Man. Once again, I love this caricature. Very simple, but very nice cartoon. This would be an amazing animated cartoon for kids. This is like just made for it. So he's just basically, he's coming to Earth. So he's been kicked off Mars. You keep an eye out for him. We know he has one weakness, but unfortunately, we don't know what it is. Our espionage team couldn't figure it out. So I guess he figures that might help him. He has a weakness. We just don't know what it is. Hopefully he'll find it. So now he's back and ready to go. His saucer is flying, zipping along. He heads back to Earth. Meanwhile, we see Brain Man. His ship has stalled on this asteroid. I guess he's having engine trouble. Just kind of a weird, this has nothing to do with the plot. It doesn't make the story better. It's kind of weird. Instead of just having him show up on Earth and meet Fatman. But he has just this little interlude. But what's more important about this panel to me, look at these crazy colors here. Now, when I first read this, when I read this last night for the first time in years, I didn't know CC Beck colored this. And I was like, man, this color is just crazy. I've never seen colors like this in a, newsprint comic. But there's a lot of weird, interesting coloring going on in this comic. And now that I find out it's CC Beck, it makes sense. It's like, okay, I don't think he colored that much, So now Fatman returns to Earth and he's hungry again. He shows up at this lady's yard. She's gardening. He just asks her, hey, do you know if there's some place I could get some food? And she goes off on him and hits him with a rake. He flies off. He lands on a city street. He's double parked or whatever. It's in a no parking zone. The cop gives him a ticket. So as you can see, look, it's just a one-page gag. It could exist by itself. So much of it is like that. The police officer calls into Central Command and headquarters and says, hey, get a helicopter after this flying saucer. Now, here's another thing. This is another one-page gag, basically. It has nothing to do with the story. These other aliens, it's confusing. They have a red ship, just like Brain Man, but they're not, they're different aliens. They Fat Man, and they say, hey, look, it's that scout craft we sent out last year to size up this planet. And we have to punish him. The High Master is very annoyed with him for not calling in. So they have this weird thing. They bonk him on the head. And Fat Man turns back, saucer, whatever. He turns back into Fat Man to escape. And these aliens just fly off saying, I wonder what happened to him. I just heard this big ploop. And I don't think I've ever seen that sound effect in a comic, ploop. And the aliens fly off. they're worried that their high master is going to be angry with them now. And that's it. You'd think aliens visiting Earth, attacking Fatman, this would be a plot point or the beginning of a side plot. Nope. They just fly off. We never see them again. Just because Otto Binder thought it would be funny, this little sequence. So Fatman makes it down to Earth. Of course, he's eating something again. And right then, Brain Man arrives right next to Fatman. But Fatman doesn't see him because he sees a bird, a rare bird, and he's a bird watcher. So he's like, "Ooh, I gotta catch that bird for my collection." Here we have a little Fatman feedback, which is not really feedback. It's really just an editorial from the editor. Just talking about their plans for the future and stuff like that. Here's an ad for one of their other comics, Todd Holton's Super Green Beret. When he's in Vietnam. This comic looks so bad, I have to buy it. This looks wonderfully shitty. Now we have Chapter 2, The Mad Martian's Mental Menaces. So, whatever, Saucer Man is chasing after this bird. He catches him in his net, but he accidentally catches Brain Man somehow. It's just, whatever. It's supposed to be funny. There's another ploop. Look at that weird, that looks bizarre to me. That coloring, the lettering. So now finally, Fatman confronts Brain Man. Brain Man apparently is so mentally powerful, he can make Fatman do things against his will. And I love this panel for some reason of Fatman punching himself because Brain Man's making him. A lot of this, a lot of these things don't even progress the story. It's just like, oh, we can sneak a goofy idea in here that'll maybe make the kids laugh. So Brain Man hits him with this Psycho Slam ray gun. Jesus, yeah, I don't want you interfering with my plans to take over Earth. A lot of these colors aren't necessarily weird. They're just beautiful, bright primary colors. Look how solid this coloring is. It seems better than a lot of comics as far as just getting solid colors. So Fatman trades back into Saucer Man. I'll call him Saucer Man too, so it's not confusing. Brain Man makes this mental clamp on him. And so he's in this battle for his life, right? He breaks free from this clamp. But then he looks at his foodometer. And it says, dinner time. And so he runs home to his parents. So it turns out, the whole time I didn't even realize this at first, that even though I said it earlier, but at first when I read it, I was like, oh, he's just an adult. No, he's just this lazy fucker, Nepo baby, who has filthy rich parents, and he does nothing except eat a lot of food all the time. And now we see, but Brain Man with his amazing mental powers can see anywhere, and he's like, oh, so that Van Powers guy is the same guy as Fatman. Now, the reason I bring this whole little sequence up is, I'm not some fats rights activist. It's not fun being fat, guys. I wouldn't champion it. I wouldn't give you a thumbs up. It's best not to be. It's not fun. When you're morbidly obese, is a lot of downsides, no upsides. But this comic is one of those things that just is really anti-fat people. Basically, Fatman is stupid, has no responsibility. He leaves this battle. He's supposed to stop Brain Man, but all he does is, oh, I'm hungry, I better go. And, yeah, he's really dumb and lazy. And it's just a really, the shittiest view of fat people. Some of these panels, remind me of, right here, these guys almost look like Dick Tracy villains. This scene could be horrifying if it wasn't so, drawn for kids. But Brain Man puts these mental thoughts into his father, mother, and the butler, and basically say, your son is a vicious, horrible criminal, attack him. And with the looks on their faces, it's kind of horrifying. He brainwashes them, and they all start beating up. The father and mother start beating up their own son. When he runs outside, this cop looks like he's from Dick Tracy too. They arrest him because Brain Man says, arrest that guy. You guys, it's so weird how when I'm reading this comic, I see so many things that have this vague echo of Jaime Hernandez. I see so many panels in here of faces where I'm like, that looks like Jaime Hernandez. That could totally be him. This one isn't as good as an example as others. Hopefully I'll remember to point them out to you. But certain faces in here, I'm just like, man. Well, I'm sure Jaime Hernandez read a lot of C.C. Beck growing up. I wouldn't be surprised. So now, Fatman, or Van, is in jail. This little skinny guy's playing with his yo-yo outside. And Van Crawford knows him. He says, Lucius Pendle. But then right then, Brain Man sees the same thing, and he puts a thought into Lucius Pendle's head that basically you loathe him. You know, you want to attack him. And then all of a sudden he starts speaking in this weird language. Some made-up Sanskrit or something. But then right then, Lucius turns into Tin Man. So I guess Lucius is a superhero. Maybe he was in the first issue, so it's no surprise to people who've read them all. I was like, okay. So he's this character named Tin Man, this guy here. And Brain Man says, rip through the bars of his jail cell and kill him. So Tin Man starts to do it, yanks Fat Man out, but then right then he throws off the mental conditioning. The narrator tells us that for some reason Tin Man seems impervious to Brain Man's power. No explanation why. And now it starts raining. Fat Man turns into Saucer Man, and Tin Man rides up on top of him. They find Brain Man's ship, and Brain Man's hiding out in a cave. So, Chapter 3, Mystery of the Moon Witch. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I missed something here real quick. Brain Man uses his powers, and he blows up Tin Man. They don't even show it. That's why I forgot. It's just off panel. They mention it when they approach the cave. Fat Man gets all the body parts of Tin Man together and puts them together as if it was a model kit. It's a little off. He put like his shin where his hand should be. And they go off, crawling through the tunnels of this cave to find Brain Man. Brain Man does another like special beam, and it makes Tin Man fat. It just doesn't really help the plot. It's not funny. So he becomes fat. Fat Man uses him like a bowling ball to knock over Brain Man. That makes his mental control over, making Tin Man fat go away, so he goes back to normal. And then he makes a psycho bomb. Now, I forgot to point out something. This is another really dopey thing in this comic. Fat Man, instead of saying like, holy catfish, Batman, he has exclamations of like, great stuffed truffles. Like it's all food related, Here's another weird one where he says you have 10 Martian seconds to escape from this psycho bomb, to run away. I'll begin the countdown in my native language. 10 in gong a dong, 9 in googie gaw, 8 in goggy goo, 7 a roon a boing, 6 a ling a ding. I don't know why I thought that was charming. I laughed. Well, I just laughed out loud in front of you, but I did last night too when I was reading this. So then Fat Man, I don't know how he does this, but he figures out. He says, Tin Man, there's like an underground lake. Dive into it like belly flop and make the water spread as far as you can. Fat Man figured, why was Brain Man in that cave? Maybe Martians are afraid of water, or it affects them in a certain way because there's no water on Mars. And he's right. Brain Man turns into a little baby, a very cute little baby. They basically grab him and they say, we'll send him to jail, but we'll have to get him a babysitter. But then right then, this kind of beautiful, sinister woman with a lute plays a chord on her lute, and it magically transports our two heroes away, leaving the baby very confused. Next, we have a Fat Man's Favorite Fun Fair, which is a joke page. They asked the kids, the readers, to send in a joke. I think they all got like $5 for doing it, too. Not a bad deal. These are really bad jokes, guys. It's like jokes made by mentally handicapped people. They're really dumb. Oh, I love this. This is great. Look at this great centerfold. Let me make sure it's well, I'll show you half at a time. Make sure it's in frame. I don't want this up on my wall. We have a goofy little filler page, Our Space Age by Otto Binder. These are drawn by, let me see, actually, I should, if I can find it quick, I'll get the name real quick. I took a photo of it earlier. It's, some golden age artist. Oh, Carl Pfeuffer. Pfeufer. I think I've seen his name in, like, comic book histories. This is just so crude. It looks like he just had a black crayon. I was like, it's just a little trivia about UFOs and flying saucers. So Fatman and Tin Man end up in some jungly region of the world. They don't know where they are. There's lots of dumb gags. The whole reason for this plot twist is just for this page. They can make gags about Fatman speaking really bad pidgin English to these natives. And the big joke is they speak perfect English like an Oxford professor. Here's an example of Fatman's pidgin English. Hello, fella boy. You talk. Tell him us name, by golly, of Big Tree Wild Place here. I'm not going to go any further because I'm sure it could be considered offensive. So they finally make their way back to civilization. Meanwhile, we see little baby Brain Man and Moon, whatever her name is, Moon Girl. And here's some of the stuff that looks like totally Jaime Hernandez. This one, though, I don't know what that looks like because my memory sucks. But that looks like a totally different artist. Like a very serious artist. If you guys have your own opinion of what artist that looks like, if you had a guess, please comment below. So now, once again, Van Crawford just goes home, probably to eat some more food. And then there's a total left turn in the plot. His rich father says, you got to go out west to check out my oil wells. It's time you learn the family business. Of course, Van Crawford's just like, but I don't want to, because he's a fucking lazy piece of shit. But then he says, but you know what? Besides, they have great cactus pizza pies out there in the west. So, of course, Van Crawford's like, oh, what a delicacy, I'm going to go. Because that's all I give a shit about, because I'm a fat fuck. It's really just, like, kind of insulting. So, what's her face? Luna is... Let me double check on her name. I'm so annoyed that I can't remember her name. And I just saw the fucking poster. Lunita, I guess she, her lute is kind of like a scrying pool. She can see what's going on in other parts of the world. So she sees Van Crawford flying out to the west. She destroys his plane. He takes a parachute down. He lands, and I guess they've got all these oil rigs drilling for oil in the earth. And now we're introduced to Grollo, who's a troll. And he's tired of these earthmen, your surface dwellers, drilling into his kingdom and stealing all of his riches. So he says, oh, I'll give him a gusher, all right. A super gusher that'll, it'll be like a deluge. So he just does just that. The oil covers Fatman. These plot, like, little, not twists, I don't even know what you call them, just incidents are so weird and just random. So now he's covered in oil. Lunita plays a chord on her lute, hardens the oil before he can suffocate. Okay, actually, right there, that could be a Gilbert Hernandez panel. Before he can suffocate the workers, chip him free. And now, later on, after a little rest, he turns back to Saucer Man and says, I gotta get back to my job of finding Brain Man. I really thought 100% that he was going to say, I really got to get back to my job of finding those cactus pizzas. So he finds Lunita. I guess Lunita has put baby Brain Man in this, to protect him in this, she's made this giant cell of giant stones and basically locked him inside. It doesn't seem like the best way to protect a baby, especially because he might suffocate. Once again, we get that ploop sound effect. I guess whenever Saucer Man turns to Fat Man and vice versa, that's the ploop, the sound it makes. So now it's Lunita's turn to torture Fat Man. She can make him do anything she wants with her crazy magic lute. And she makes him dance. He has another Jaime Hernandez. Just the body language, everything about this. And of course he says, holy corn muffins. So dumb, all these exclamations. So he can't resist it. She's running him ragged. He finally collapses. And then Grollo makes his appearance. So now Grollo kind of teams up with Lunita, who's already allied herself with Brain Man. And Grollo, I guess, is as a troll, is in control, magic control. He has magic control over fire. So Grollo says, I'm going to bring up molten lava, and that'll be the end of Fatman. So now we're up to an awesome threesome. Well, threesome sounds wrong. Part 4, the underground gnome strikes. And I guess he's a gnome. Sorry, I thought he was a troll. So now Fatman wakes up just in time. He turns into Saucer Man to evade this molten lava. Once again, love these colors. These crazy just ways to color fire in a newsprint comic. So he's flying away. I have no idea what Tin Man came from. Oh, later on, he teams up with Tin Man again. Maybe he was just, I don't know where he was. Maybe he went all the way back to the East Coast. Look at this great fire coloring. I love this. This panel looks so wicked to me. It's almost like psychedelia. Grollo just fills the sky with fire to kill Saucer Man and Tin Man. But they escape. Now Lunita uses her powers. She says, oh, I'm going to make them caught in rain, but it's not just normal rain. She summons an acid rain cloud. And the acid is, burning through the metal. So Fatman, like a centrifuge, starts spinning around real quick to knock off the beads of acid. Unfortunately, this makes Tin Man dizzy, and he falls. He lands in this tower, radio tower, and Fatman rescues him. And it's really inconsequential, but it just allows a few more silly, fun panels of bad dialogue and goofy jokes. These panels are like CZ Beck, I think, just because he's been doing it so long, he just has that thing like, just has a lot of his panels, not all of them, they're just so well composed. I just like looking at them. They're just very pleasing to me. Like this, I love this panel of him doing acrobatics up this tower to rescue Tin Man's alter ego. There's a lot of panels where I'm just like, I just like it. It's very pleasing. So now the 3 villains here are like, what are we gonna do? And Grollo says, I'm gonna make a champion with my magic powers. And he makes this guy, who's basically just like a really crappy version of Grollo. He says he'll be my underground champion. Listen to his thunderous voice. And he says, speak, but what shall I say? And Lunita laughs at him. Tee-hee, he lisps, and he roars twice as soft as a mouse. Remember this ad. Okay, now we have a little, this is the letter page where kids ask questions about Fatman. And these are very, I don't know, 6-year-olds, like, what does Fatman weigh? What's his favorite food? The kind of questions little kids would ask. This is just a useless page. They chose freedom. And it's just this little thing about Thomas Paine and Patrick Henry. And how we all must work hard to defend freedom. Not that it's bad to defend freedom, but I don't want to read about it in a Fatman comic. A poorly written one-pager. I want to get back to these zany antics. So now Grollo's little monster, I guess he used bad clay or something, and he breaks up. Well, he starts to break up, and then Brain Man finishes him off with his psycho beam. And Grollo's like, oh, you bastard. That was mean. So then Brain Man says, I'm going to make my own champion for us. And it's just a bigger version of him. And then Grollo burns him to a crisp, pretending like, oh, it's not really revenge. I just don't think your monster man could be our champion. So then Lunita makes this weird monster, but they attack her friend, the Growlo and Brain Man. So she has to get rid of it because it's uncontrollable. So just didn't help the plot at all, this little sequence. Just Otto Binder thought it'd be funny to have these little incidences of them creating their own champions. Now we totally have another, just like, okay, the world is under attack from a guy who wants to take it over, but Fatman and Tin Man have a charity for children that they have to entertain the children for charity. So we just get like a page of just goofy, like, look at how zany they are. I know it's weird that I like this comic so much because none of the jokes are funny. They're very unfunny, in fact. But part of the reason why I like it, I'm not going to say it's as good as like Herbie, where it's just like this amazing Dadaist surrealism. But it has that effect of just like, I have no fucking clue what you're going to do next page because you just jump around willy-nilly with no storytelling sense. It's just like, you kind of it's almost like you forget your overarching plot sometimes. And I mean, Otto Binder does. It's like I forgot. I'm telling the story about a guy invading Earth. It's like he forgets. So now finally they all agree, the villains. Look at that interesting face there. I would never guess I would see Beck in a million years. It's almost like if Trina Robbins could draw better. It's, well, actually, I've seen her draw this well. Every now and then, she gets it right. But here we see, now they're the awesome foursome. Because they make this guy, Syntho, the Patchwork Man. All of their magics contributed to it. So now they summon Fatman and say, come meet our challenge. So him and Tin Man run off to meet him. And it turns out their big champion, Syntho, he's a big softy. He loves flowers. He's just kneeling in this field. Me love pretty flowers. And they're like, fight these guys. What are you doing? So Brain Man tricks him. He says, these guys hate flowers. They like to crush them. So now Syntho gets furious. He's like, you don't like flowers. I hate you. And he starts beating the shit out of him. But then he gets distracted by some pretty bugs. And then Brain Man says, he'll be back soon. Are you ready now to sign on this dotted line of this contract that states you will leave us alone to conquer Earth? Which they never even brought up before. So now Brain Man and Tin Man rally their forces. And they're like, we've had enough of this getting beat up. They attack Syntho. And Syntho's fighting back, of course. I really love this design of Syntho. It's very, like, I don't know, like some 80s new wave cartoonist, like Kaz would do that or something. I don't know, not Kaz, but it's really fun and crazy. So they're not having much luck. Syntho beats the shit out of them again. But finally they say, we gotta have a concerted attack. We'll even count to keep rhythm. And so, they say these cute little rhymes. 1, 2, you're black and blue. 3, 4, your ribs are sore. Like I said, this is really for young kids. This is like a children's book. So now the three other villains get in on the action. Like, we gotta help out. Everything goes wrong. Growler accidentally burns Syntho instead of burning the two heroes. So they grab a giant log, a tree trunk, and they bowl over the villains. And this scene's really weird. So Fatman says, and now for Lunita, the worst of the lot. She says, you're too much of a gentleman to strike a weak, frail, defenseless, beautiful girl like me. And he says, beautiful? Haw! In my opinion, you're Miss Ugly of 1967. You get a job in Hollywood as a stand-in for old hags. So even these like put-downs are so bad. Like it's like not even good insult comedy. There's some more Jaime Hernandez faces going on here. I mean, of course, by way of Don DeCarlo and like the old Archie artist, but I just really like this drawing. So she gets furious. She's like, you big tub of lard, and she hits him with her own lute. She's so angry, and it breaks it. So now she's powerless. Without her lute, she has no power. She can't cast spells. Meanwhile, Brain Man escapes. And they're just like, good riddance, fine. And then Grollo says, hey, I was just under the influence of those two bad guys. I'm not really that bad. I don't want to live underground anymore. Can I, hang out with you? You can give me a job. I'm a good cook. And so I guess from now on, Grollo is going to be Fatman's buddy. And we see this in this coming attraction. The reason I said remember the ad earlier, same exact thing. We just saw this ad. But also that editorial that I showed you earlier says everything in this. So 3 times in the comic, they're like, tell you exactly what's coming up. And it's just like, guys, do some better editing. You don't need to keep doing this. But it says Grollo is now cleaned up. You'll never know him. But these villains are great. Gung-Ho with the evil eye of deadly crystal. And look at this guy, Mr. Shroud, who actually looks very creepy. Like, it doesn't look like it's a funny kids comic villain. He just, I want this issue so fucking bad. Maybe one day I'll get it. And that's it for Fatman number 2. Here's a comic that they were planning, Captain Shazam. I think because Shazam was in the public domain, they thought they could get away with it. But whatever, I don't know if that came out. That would have been nice, though. It would have been justice if those guys could have made a ripoff of their own character and they got to own it. So there you go, guys. Fatman the Human Flying Saucer number 2. Very silly, very goofy. I'm sure many people out there are like, why are you showing that comic off? But I fucking find this shit fun as hell. And I love the cartooning. I fucking love the weird coloring in this. It's really unique. But mainly the cartooning is just really fun. Otto Binder's not a good writer, but it's kind of fun. It was entertaining, even though the mechanics of good storytelling are not in effect. But I wasn't bored reading this comic, that's for sure. I was like, what the fuck is he doing now? What? So I always like stuff like that, even if it's maybe not great, but it's surprising and fun and interesting. So there you go. I already said it. Sorry, I'm rambling now. So I'll let you go. Hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.